They have been unhappy for some time. There has been a civil war for some time, even though many parts of the institution would like to play it down. It has now exploded in spectacular fashion out into the open. What is so fascinating to me is these two have a need to try and control their own narrative. So I had been working on the story, Julia, for 2 weeks. There had been numerous opportunities when I could have run it and I wasn't quite there. And put it this way, there were people close to Harry and Meghan that were certainly trying to stop me from running this story. But then as soon as we went public with it, Harry and Meghan had to have their say. They always want to set the narrative and the agenda themselves. Now, the problem is when you're talking about the monarchy and the royal family and an institution with the Queen at 3 years old at the head of it, she doesn't do things on a whim. She's not going to rush a statement like this. And I think there is now fury within the royal family, specifically from Prince Charles and Prince William, and also deep disappointment from the Queen, because you know what, Julia, she did a lot to make these two happy.
This idea that they can be sort of half in, half out, will that mean that he will still remain a royal, he'll still be a prince, still be a duke, still be HRH, or would he be required to give some of those titles up?
Well, that is the big question, and I actually reported in my story in The Sun yesterday that one of the long-term options that is being discussed is seeing the couple relinquish their HRH title. Now, I would say, after the way that they've behaved over the past 24 hours, the chances of that happening has now significantly increased. But you can imagine, Julie, you know what Prince Harry and Meghan are like. They won't want to do that because, of course, if they were to relinquish those titles, they would have to bow to Prince William and Kate, for example. So, you know, there are a whole load of very complicated, complex issues here, and very much the future of the monarchy is at stake as well.
She thought she could take over where Princess Diana had left off.
In what respect?
And become the people's princess and the darling of the people. And that simply was not going to happen. And the reason that it wasn't going to happen is because William and Kate, frankly, have stepped up and they haven't done a thing wrong. And what is, I think, extraordinary is that everybody adored Harry and thought he was a fantastic guy. And he just has turned into somebody that everyone's not recognizing. Now, before you could say, and I have a sympathy for the argument, well, he's matured. You don't want him dancing a Mahiti or whatever it's called every night. No, I get that, right? And people wished him well. It's just that when you're getting lectured by people, you go, hang on a minute. Do me a favour, don't lecture us.
What do you disagree with? What bit do you disagree with?
On everything. I don't agree with the bullying at all.
No, what bit do you disagree with of what Harry, the way that Harry has become?
Because I think when he gave his speech at the Invictus Games, it was stunning, and I sat there watching it, and I thought, this is tremendous. He wanted more support for veterans of war, didn't he? Absolutely.
Yeah, he spoke out there, didn't he?
Who the hell can argue with that? His speech was terrific, and he was a wonderful spokesperson. Then suddenly we're getting this, it's all become, and I'm sorry to say it, but I'll say it unashamedly, this woke stuff.
So when Harry stands on a stage and he makes a speech asking for more support across society and in politics for veterans of war, that's something that you celebrate. When he makes a speech about... Hang on a minute, what you did, you literally just said it was wonderful. Hang on a minute, you literally just said it was wonderful. And there's nothing wrong with thinking that's wonderful, by the way. I'm not going to... You are dead right. It is wonderful. And Harry is absolutely right in what he says. But when he stands up and he talks about equality of opportunity for young girls through Meghan, or stands up and talks about climate change, or he stands up and talks about refugees, or he talks about those who are suffering in parts of the world like South Africa, suddenly it becomes objectionable.
Is it fair to say that you think she did know what she was marrying into, but actually a celebrity and getting to choose your PR and your coverage and when you are on camera, when you're not, is very, very different from a royal life, and she really had no idea what she was getting herself into?
Well, in the conversations I had with Harry, he told me that he had very, very long conversations with her, explaining exactly what was required of him, what was required of her, how awful it would be, the press, everything like that, because he was absolutely determined that she would know what she was letting herself in for. Whether she didn't hear because she was so in love with him, we don't know. You know, these are private issues. But the other thing he had told me is that he can't bear being thought of as a celebrity. He said there's a narrow line between being a celebrity and being a royal, but he absolutely is a royal. A royal has a sense of duty, knows what is expected of them, is there to support the Queen. The celebrity, as you say, choose their own PRs and arrive at wonderful first nights and look gorgeous and aren't there criticised day and night. I think the criticism is very, very hard to do, but I do think that she hasn't understood the difference at all. I don't think she's necessarily meant not to, but I don't think she's got it.
This was, of course, the man who we'd been told would create World War III in Korea, World War III in the Middle East. No, he sent a very clear message. We are at war with Iran. We have been since 55 Americans were taken hostage back in 1979, and we're going to impose even tougher sanctions on that nation because they are a murderous regime, and people like Qasem Soleimani deserved to die, but they're so pathetic. We think of this math. This is the mathematics of the recent days. We launched one Hellfire missile, and we took out this guy. They launched 17 ballistic missiles, and they couldn't hit anybody. That's how pathetic Iran is. But the warning has been sent, and they now know that they're in deep, deep trouble if they try anything again.
Well, and I was saying this on Friday of last week. If you're an Iranian government official and you see what happened to Soleimani, and not only that they took him out with a drone strike, but they not only knew exactly where he would be in Baghdad, but they also knew which car he was in. You know, I was like, this is like something from Homeland, and they can take you out at a minute's notice from a very long way away, and they're getting some very good intelligence, clearly, from inside the Iranian camp.
Yeah, we have capabilities that other nations just dream about. When I worked in the administration, I was told by the Deputy Director of Special Operations in the DoD, if we know where the bad guy is, it doesn't matter where in the world they are. If we get the green light from the President or SecDef, the Secretary of Defense, we can take you out in 72 hours. And that's exactly what we did with this absolute heinous murderer, Soleimani.
She wants to be a Hollywood royal. She wants to have all the benefits in America that goes with it, but she wants none of the responsibility. She wants none of being told what to do. And more importantly, she doesn't want her hubby controlled in any sort of way except by her.
But how do you know that it's Meghan driving this? How do you know it's not Harry?
Well, I think
Jackie,
he is like...
Which one of these two do you think has the brains, by the way?
Well, I think he's like most men, Dawn, that he's probably in love, and when men are in love, they're very weak and they can be manipulated very easy, and men are quite gormless and women can control them. Because
happy wife, happy life.
There you are.
Indeed.
Okay.
She's the stronger of the two, I would say that much.
Dawn, final word from you, because you know any criticism. I never even noticed what colour the woman is, was, whatever. There will be, and I'm sure we'll get them today, there's always the old easy attack. You're only saying this, or any of us are only being critical because she's black. And don't even notice she's black. Wouldn't matter to me if she's black. I'm somewhat colour blind on those things. But to people who come out with that argument, what would you say?
I would say this has nothing to do with racism whatsoever in any way, shape or form. It is about the two of them. It is about their hypocrisy. It is about the contempt with which they've treated the royal family and the British public in general. And I think they should just leave now, drop the titles, we pay them no more money, and they disappear and live the life they choose. And I don't care if I never hear nor see them again.
I'm with you. Thank you very much, Dawn.
Thank
Lisa.
you very much.
Dawn, maybe we'll hear from you later on in the show as well, because I'm sure you'll have stirred up a few emotions there with that one. And really appreciate your take. Dawn is a former Daily Star editor. She's a columnist for many publications and a contributor, obviously, to Talk Radio as well. Okay. Everyone's had their say. You have your say. 0344 499 1000. Do you feel better having got that off your chest?
No, I want to ask one more question
which
to
is?
you. How easy is it to be unroyal? How easy is it to walk away when you're as famous as they are? You can say we're not part of the royal family, but you still are, really. Because your family is your family, isn't it?
I agree with you, especially in America, where they'll all love this, and they'll be gormlessly looking at her, and she's playing the role of her life. I just find her incredibly irritating.
I've never met her, so I don't know.
But no, I've never met her either. But I look at her and I don't think I'd like you in real life. You're just that awful, woke, weak, manipulative, spoilt. What I have met is lots of people in TV series and movie stars and whatever from America who are mollycoddled beyond belief with PR people around them. And maybe she's just somewhat spoilt. They may well both be somewhat damaged, but she's a manipulator. She's a controller. You mark my words.
It means, Christine, that children with family members in this country could be in the equivalent of whatever we call the jungle camp outside Calais now, or they're in the Greek islands. They could be there on their own, just with the basic care of aid agencies and volunteers when they've got family members in this country.
They might have grandparents, aunts and uncles, brothers and sisters who are in this country and who are citizens out in this country.
Legally,
and, they can, and they're not allowed to come here. That I find utterly disgusting, to treat children, any child in that way. A child who's come from the worst possible circumstances and is living in the worst possible circumstances. And we can help them. That to turn your back on them and to do what this government wants to do is a discredit to all of us.
Now, Christine, you see, is that fair? Because the government, as far as I understand it, Downing Street put out a statement, I think, last night, in which they insist their commitment to child refugees, the commitment that Theresa May took on board, hasn't been abandoned. They've just simply removed it from the Brexit withdrawal agreement bill, so, quotes, it can be delivered on what it was designed to do. So I guess what I'm gleaning from that is Dominic Cummings is basically saying it's not fair to say we're turning our back on these things. It's not fair to say we're U-turning on these things. What we're actually doing is just slimlining the Brexit withdrawal agreement to get it nice the way through, and then all these other issues, we'll still do them somewhere down the line.
Yeah, if you're going to do them, why don't you leave them in the bill? That's just all smoke and mirrors. Yes, of course we'll do that, but maybe not right now, and you just keep putting it off and say, oh, of course we're committed to it. But saying you're committed to it is not enough. You have to act. You have to put it in legislation for that commitment to be there. It was in the legislation. It could have been in the legislation, and they decided not to do it. Now, for me, that, I'm a wee bit suspicious that if the government doesn't want something in legislation, it's because it doesn't want to be held to it. And that's my problem with it.
He has been really lonely, and I've gone out for a drink with Harry when I had my first child. He was like, Em, what did you have? I had a great relationship with him and joshing and joking, but he was lost, and then he found someone, and I think it would be a mistake to think it's Meghan pulling the strings.
She's a control freak.
No, but I think they've done this together. She's got rid of her father, she's got rid of her brother, she's got rid of her sister, she's got rid of her first husband, she's cut Harry off from his family. She's in control, I put it to you.
But he might have done it too.
I think this has been a joint decision. And I think that he has found something in her, and he wants to protect right from the get-go, right from when he was young. When he was a young man, he was, falling out of nightclubs and carousing. He still had that very sensitive side to him. There was a hashtag on Twitter that I used to love, #HarryWithKids. He'd be cradling kids in orphanages. I remember dancing in Brazil with him, with children in a children's centre for kids with special needs. And he desperately wanted his own children, but he was very, very clear that he wanted to absolutely protect his family and his children in a way that he felt that his mum hadn't been protected and that neither he nor his brother had been protected. So
I hear what you're saying, Emily. I hear what you're saying. Toby, final word there to you. I know you've both got to go.
Well, I'm not sure that you've mounted a particularly persuasive defence of Harry there, Emily. What you've effectively
have you actually met him, Toby? Have you met him? Have you spoken to him? Because I've met and spoken to Harry and Meghan. So with respect, I would say that I probably have better first-hand evidence than you do, unless you two have done the same.
Well, it sounds like you confirmed what I said, which is he used to be a bit of a laugh, liked to go out dancing, was very friendly, no problem with the media. Since he's married her, he's become a changed man and now trots out her nonsense about the media being racist. But if you think that it's partly his decision to ambush his 93-year-old mother when her husband is at death's door, and that he is as responsible as her for the rift with William and Kate, and that it's partly his decision to create this rift with the family and go off to North America and abandon any duties he has and the charities they've been supporting and sandbag all of them with this announcement, and that's not exactly a defence that you're saying. He's as bad as her.